let's just get this out of the way. Do I believe that Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million in 90 days? No, I do not. But I will say that the probability is above zero, which, just given the fact that it is a more than zero probability, means that I am taking measures to make sure that I am protected in case Bitcoin actually goes to $1 million in 90 days. And so that may sound really exciting, Bitcoin at $1 million within 90 days. But to me, that's absolutely terrifying, because what does that mean if Bitcoin goes to $1 million within the next 3 months? That means the US dollar has failed. It has collapsed a great deal, at least. And so what do we do? If the US dollar collapses, it's going to be Armageddon in the United States. People are not going to know how to make money, how to pay their bills, how to get food, aside from stealing it. There will be riots, there will be panic. We have been sucking at the government's teat for so long, and I don't know if the government, the Federal Reserve, will have any clue. Well, I know they won't have any clue. They haven't had any clue for years, but I don't think they'll have any clue as to what to do for this. And so Balaji Srinivasan, former CTO of Coinbase, says that hyperinflation is happening now, and he is betting, I believe it's actually $2 million. He is putting $2 million into options, calling for, into calls for $1 million Bitcoin in 90 days. If that doesn't happen, he is going to lose $2 million. And he's betting with an economist. I don't even remember the economist's name, but what's the deal here? I don't know if I'm actually going to read this article, but Balaji Srinivasan says hyperinflation happening now, makes $1 million bets on Bitcoin price exceeding $1 million in 90 days. He's the former CTO of Coinbase. He believes that hyperinflation is happening now. He's an angel investor, tech founder, Wall Street Journal bestselling author. He formerly served as CTO of Coinbase, commenting on a tweet made by former CEO Jack Dorsey in October 21, saying that hyperinflation will happen, quote, soon and will change everything. Srinivasan tweeted, "Jack is right." He emphasized hyperinflation is happening now. And here's what he's referencing. He's referencing great deals of unrealized losses. Silicon Valley Bank, was that a canary in the coal mine? I asked that question last week, and to me, as I'm doing more research, as I'm reading zerohedge.com, one of the only places of real information I am seeing, yes, that SVB was a canary in the coal mine. And so what we're seeing, because of how aggressively the Fed has raised rates, and they have broken through levels of resistance when it comes to 2008, 2000, rates reached a certain point and then the economy crashed. 2008 rates reached a certain point. 2019 rates reached a certain point, and there was a crash that would have come if it wasn't for COVID, which just, pulled the Band-Aid off and all right, zero rates, all the way back down to zero, all that stuff. The Fed has gone off the charts when it comes to how aggressively they have raised rates, to the point where I am convinced that something worse than 2008 is coming. And in my mind, it has always been 2024. And also in my mind, it has not been hyperinflation. But that extraordinary thing that may happen might actually be hyperinflation, like I said, above a 0% chance. So what's he looking at? Here's some charts. Federal Reserve weekly remittances to Treasury totally collapsed. And then another chart here. Unrealized gains versus losses on investment securities. Here we have, this is a quarterly chart here. So the last 4 quarters, as the Fed has raised rates, the unrealized losses by the banks has plummeted to insane levels. And so how does this lead to hyperinflation? Well, it leads to hyperinflation because no more trust in banks can very easily equal no more trust in dollars. I mean, personally, I lost trust in the US dollar a long time ago. 2020, with just immediately bringing rates down to zero and introducing all the stimulus, all the quantitative easing that was introduced in '08, the quantitative easing, all of that accelerated my loss of faith in the US dollar to the point where I am unwilling to hold large amounts of money in the bank. I want it in something that is going to increase in value in comparison to the dollar. That made it so much worse. If we lose our banks, that's going to make 2020 look like if we lose our confidence in the banks, I should say, because the big banks are going to stay, too big to fail, all that stuff. But if we lose our confidence in our local banks, the faith in the US dollar can quickly follow. And man, the Federal Reserve, they are liars. I mean, whenever I read anything by the Fed, by Jerome Powell, by Lael Brainerd, by Michelle Bowman, and by former Fed Chair Janet Yellen, she's been spewing off some nonsense lately. I always put on my discernment hat, my radar, my BS detector, and I always put it on. But they've known that this was coming. Look at this article, KansasCityFed.org, September 8th, 2022. The rising interest rate environment has led to unrealized loss positions in community bank available for sale for securities portfolios and declining tangible equity capital ratios. They saw this coming. This was September. And the Fed continued to raise rates very aggressively. And now it's like, all right, what do we do? If we pause or if we pivot, boom. Honestly, so all right, this is the rock and the hard place that we're stuck between. We can continue to raise rates, and that will serve as a mechanism of holding off inflation, or we pivot and pause, and that could potentially, given the fact that inflation has not recovered, and given the fact that all of this is happening, all these banks are seeing billions upon billions of dollars in losses and unrealized losses, the U.S. dollar could plummet. I was going to say skyrocket. The U.S. dollar could plummet. The DXY could plummet. And then off we go. And where are people going to go? If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, a lot of you are probably going to be thinking that your altcoins are going to do very well. But if Bitcoin went to $1 million, if it actually went to $1 million in 90 days, Bitcoin's dominance would be somewhere between 90 and 100%. Obviously not 100%, but somewhere between 90 and 99%. People are going to flee to a currency that they think would be a replacement of the US dollar, to gold or to Bitcoin. Those would be my bets. Gold, I'm not going to pull up a chart. Gold looks primed right now to shoot off like crazy. And so it's something, again, I don't believe we're going to see $1 million Bitcoin in 90 days. Until I see something extraordinary, I'm going to respect the levels. I mean, look at this chart. I drew this chart right around here with all the levels, and you can see clearly how we have respected the levels. $25,000, the battle between the bulls and the bears. That was an intense battle. I said in one of my videos that there was going to be a point when it looked like the bears were going to win, and that was right here. And of course, we bounced off of this level, the previous all-time high level. And I said as soon as we broke through that we were going to go all the way up to $28,500. I opened a long and I closed it at 28.3 on KuCoin because Tether is worth more than $1 right now. And so that's closed, and now I'm kind of waiting and seeing. But if we break through this level, I don't think it's going to be as much of a fight as 25,000 was. But if we break through this level, when we break through this level, 31.8 is the next level. And it's quite simple like that. I would say that we're going to face a good amount of resistance this week, not necessarily because this is a key point of resistance. 25K was a huge point of resistance. I don't think this is as big of a point of resistance, but more so, I mean, look at the stochastic RSI and the MACD. We're scorching hot. You know, on the daily, we probably need to cool down a little bit. And so stock market opened today. Bitcoin was around 28.3, dumped as soon as the stock market opened. I think that's just people taking profits on their stocks, on their Bitcoin correlated stocks, things like that. And that wasn't a surprise. And let's cool off. Let's see a crossover in the MACD. Go down, not all the way down, but maybe halfway down here to the 50% range, and then we'll see about after that. But after 31.8, I have not even considered drawing levels. There's probably plenty of levels between then and $42,000. I do believe that $42,000 will be the peak of this bear market rally. If we see Bitcoin just starting exploding through these levels without even considering any amount of resistance, that is when you need to be terrified of the possibility that Bitcoin is going to $1 million. It sounds too far-fetched to me now. Will hyperinflation come one day? I believe so, because I believe the US dollar is going to zero. And so how do you price Bitcoin against something that's worth zero? Does that mean Bitcoin's worth infinity? Well, you might start pricing it in other things, like in a gallon of gasoline or something. I don't know. Or another world currency, maybe a currency that's created that's backed by gold, something like that. Maybe we'll just price Bitcoin in gold after that. That day is coming one day. I don't know when. I don't think 90 days, but not financial advice. You've got to be prepared for every scenario. You've got to be prepared for the possibility that $28,000 is the peak of this bear market rally. I hate to say it like that. I don't think so, but you've got to be prepared for that possibility. So anyway, that is all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.